Hello friends. Today we'll talk about which city to choose for opening a company in Montenegro. Throughout all the years that I've been providing these services, people constantly ask me in which city they should open their company. I've always answered, open it in the city where you want to live. Well, simply put, that's logical. But now I will give a slightly different piece of advice. If you've watched my videos, you know that in Montenegro over the past year there has been a banking crisis. Well, that's what I call a banking crisis. This doesn't mean that things are terrible or that banks are going bankrupt. No, the banks are doing just fine, the financial stability of the banks is good, and overall the economy is in good shape. I call it a banking crisis because of the overload on the banking system, which arose as a result of 7 times more Russians coming to the country last year compared to the year before, due to well-known events. I won't repeat them now. And the banks are overloaded, so opening accounts takes quite a long time. Therefore, it makes sense to choose a city where the banking crisis is present but less pronounced. There probably aren't any cities where it doesn't exist at all, but there are cities where it is more severe. For example, Budva or Bar. Budva, because it's the most popular city among Russian speakers, and Bar, you don't know why. Perhaps it's due to the particularities of the local staff who are hired by the local banks. So accordingly, it makes sense to choose cities where the banks are less overloaded. On the coast, that's Herceg-Novi, or if you move away from the coast, then it's Podgorica. Podgorica is a larger city and there is a wider selection of banks there. And accordingly, since there are more banks to choose from, they are less busy. Herceg-Novi for other reasons. So accordingly, I advise everyone who is opening a company, before the situation with the banks normalizes, and I think this overload will last at least another year. Until the situation with the banks normalizes, open companies exclusively in Herceg-Novi or in Podgorica. This does not depend on where you actually want to live, and it does not obligate you to live specifically in these cities. A residence permit in Montenegro is issued not based on where you open your company, but based on your place of residence. In other words, wherever you have found a rental agreement or bought property, that is where you will apply for your residence permit. Accordingly, you can open a company in Herceg-Novi or Podgorica and live in any city in Montenegro. What depends on the choice of city? Essentially, only one thing depends on it: where the company's accountant will be located. And there are no inconveniences with this because all the work is done online. So nothing is required from you. You only need to come to the city where you opened your company again, either Herceg-Novi or Podgorica a couple of times, to open a bank account. That's it. That's all. Everything else will be done online. You could, I don't know, not show up there at all for 5 years. That's all from me. Thank you all for your attention. Goodbye, everyone. You can ask questions in the comments under this video.